Okay, so here's the video from day 2 or class number 2 for the embroidery. And in this video, or this particular stitch, this is the cross stitch, one of the many embroidery stitches that you can do. And typically you will be doing this stitch from left to right, and you'll be doing all of one of the crosses. You'll go across to the right, and then you will do the other part of the cross on the way back. And sometimes an embroidery motif will have the pattern printed on it, like the one that you guys have, or you might be using some Aida cloth, which is the weave of the cloth makes it very easy to see where your stitches go, and you can use it for counted cross stitch. So now I'm going back to the beginning and I'm completing the cross, and basically you're just going up through the bottom of your last stitch and then down through the top of your stitch on the way back. So I'm just doing 4 stitches here to give you an idea. And so this will be the last stitch. So this class, we also talked about the importance of having a tidy back, and 2 options is to concentrate your color, so all of your blue in this case, try to keep it all in one area. And if you are going to travel, it is best to weave your stitches, weave your thread through the stitches on the back, just so that they don't get in the way or there's no loose strands that could come up at a later date. You can choose to cut the thread, or you can choose to put a little knot at the end. In this case, I put a little knot and then I cut it. So I'm going to get ready here for doing the lazy daisy stitch. This is one of my favorite stitches. So it's very similar to the chain stitch, which we covered last week. So you create a loop and then you're going to come up and pull it carefully. And then you're going to anchor the top of the lazy daisy stitch with a tiny stitch going back down at the top. So I'm going to do it again. Come up at the bottom of your petal, make a loop. Your needle goes back down in the same spot, and then you come up the length of how long you want that petal to be, and you're going to pull your thread up through that loop that you created, and just a tiny stitch back down where you came up to anchor that stitch. And then you're going to come up again to make another one. Sorry, I'm a little off camera here. Hopefully I move back. I'll show you in the end. Okay, so you come up and you create a loop. I like to use my thumb to hold that loop in place. And you come back up the length of how long you want your petal to be. Your needle comes up inside the loop, and then again just a tiny stitch back down on the other side or outside side of the stitch to complete it. So that was the lazy daisy stitch, and you'll use that a lot. It's used with a lot of flowers and different designs. So the second stitch that we looked at today was the French knot. This is one, if you haven't done before, it may take some practice. Just getting, holding the thread when you're tightening or wrapping your strands around the needle takes a little bit of practice. And I'm a little bit delayed here. I was struggling to thread my needle. So again, you're going to come up through the bottom and pull your thread all the way up and out. And again, you can either weave your stitches through some previous stitches on the back to anchor it, or you can also use a small knot. But it is good practice to keep the back of your work neat, so that as you progress with the design that you're stitching, the previous threads don't get in the way and make it difficult for you to stitch over them or near them. Okay, here we go. So find your spot where you want to do it. Bring your needle up through where you want that French knot located and pull it all the way up. So you're going to hold your needle. It was hard to get this on camera because I had to hold it up close, so hopefully I capture it here. So hold your needle close to where you're going to put it in. Wrap the thread around it twice. Poke the needle down, and you can see my right hand, which is my left, but on the right of the screen, I'm holding the tension of the thread until I start pulling on it, and just slow down so that the knot will form. So again, I'm going to get down, I'm holding, wrapping it twice, put the needle down through the spot. With my thumb, I'm holding that thread off to the side. Otherwise you get a loose knot, and it will, I guess, be a little bit distorted. So you want to try to keep that tension consistent when you're making the knots so that they will be consistent. So hold it with my thumb and then pull it through slowly and just slow down there at the end, and there's your French knots.